Okay, here we are. We're on item number 8. Um, North Pender Harbour Rate Bylaw Amendment, pages 60 to 70.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At its core, this recommendation is to increase the user fees and land charges for the North Pender Harbour water system. It's based off fairly detailed analysis of a 10-year cash flow projection that is going to be formed part of the 10-year waterworks plan for the system. As Brian mentioned earlier, North Pender Harbour is a fairly small water system. As the report indicates, it's got a relatively small number of users that have to fund the entire system's operations and capital replacement projects. The rates are based to provide a required level of revenue to fund capital improvement projects over the next 10 years and to keep the budget in a healthy position. I don't really have much else to add if you have any questions.
Director Seegers.
Thank you. So in the report that we looked at before for the regional water program, they were talking about how the fact is that we do not currently have the parcel tax and the user fees set up correctly to manage and pay for the areas that they should be. I understand we've been increasing quite substantially in the Pender Harbour area for their water. Do we have the split the way it should be inside that budget to cover off what it needs to cover?
At this time, we haven't made it to a detailed review of the parcel taxes and user fees, how the breakdown is. That's going to form part of the 10-year waterworks plan that we're going to be providing. As well as we transition to a universal metering system, it's going to have a major effect on how we structure the user side revenue. As this report's presented, it's to provide a pool of funds that's going to continue to fund this water system at a given service level.
Director Turnbull.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the regional system and how this one is separate for its own reasons that I never did understand. But what I guess my comment is that we're treating this one separately. We're working on it separately. We're assuming, we're trying to figure out what resources are needed for that one separately. And from my point of view, I do not wish that concept to drain the regional water staff supplement. That plus the other issue that I've noted now that we have these two separate water areas is that all of the available grants seem to be going toward those two small areas, leaving very little or none for the regional, which is the, I don't know, how many users compared. So from my point of view, that is one of the problems. It may very well be fine to separate it out, but then we get into equity on grant funding and who's getting it all.
Director North.
I just want to remind everybody that we voted for Pender Harbour getting those grants when the shovel-ready commitment came out from Infrastructure Canada. And the rest of us, of course, have probably proposed other areas to get into it, but it wasn't a matter of them getting all the grants. It was that their projects were ready because of the 5-year Pender Harbour plan, or 10 years, whatever it was. And I attended a lot of those meetings and heard the process. And it just so happened when that grant funding came out, they were ready. And so that's why I keep pushing other areas to be ready, because I understand there's a new process coming out in the spring this year.
Director Sugar.
This is first a question for staff. How do you structure the staff allocation and track the staff allocation between the regional system and these two systems? I'm really curious to know how that's managed.
Mr. Crosby.
I think you need to come to a mic in order for your voice to be carried on the film.
When the improvement district was transferred to the regional district, a staff member came along with the North Pender system, and 3 staff members came along with the South Pender system. So their FDs are charged to those systems. When we support them from staff from here or other parts of our regional works crew, they charge their time also to those 2 systems. So they are charged back to those systems when we support them.
And that includes the financial calculating and your time and
Yep.
all of that?
Yes, we charge our time back to those systems. Yep.
Yeah, I think that we've been seeing a significant number of increases because of these capital projects and getting the appropriate reserves, and going to being the first is exciting in the universal metering. So I have no issue. I think that this was planned, so I'll make the recommendation on page 71. Any further comment? All in favor? Thank you.